Back to the debate over H-1B visas, and I will throw no biscuits and gravy at anybody. Our next guest argues the internal fight over immigration is not really about racism.
Joining us now to explain, founder of Public on Substack, Michael Shellenberger. Thanks for being with us, sir. Okay, so you've got the internal debate. All right, you've got some on the right who like the H-1Bs. You got some who say, no, the abuse is too great there. We need to change the policy. Where do you come down, and where does racism figure into all of this?
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to put it in some context. I mean, I think we remember since around 2015, 2016, progressives and Democrats have made the argument that anyone who opposes mass migration, particularly of poor and working class people, is racist. It's out of white supremacy. Well, now you fast forward to the last few weeks and you've seen the argument made in the same way against people raising concerns about skilled labor being imported. But the effect is the same. I mean, economically, this is just a supply and demand issue. You add more workers of a particular kind into any industry, and you're going to drive down the value of labor, and you're going to drive down those wages. And there really hasn't ever been a disagreement about that fundamental economics, but we've just been lost in a lot of name calling around race and racism. I think what's really hopeful about the argument that we just saw within the Republican Party is that you see people that are committed to a vision of American renewal, to raising working class wages to cope with all this inflation. I think we saw them saying, look, the same dynamic that applies on unskilled migrant labor is also true for skilled migrant labor, and that the United States is more than a platform for business and capitalism. The nation state is our community that ties us together as citizens.
That was your point in one of the many terrific articles that you write on Substack, Michael. And when people were talking about these are Democrats and left-wing liberals saying, Republicans, civil war.
Right.
There's no civil war. They're just having a debate.
It's a debate.
A healthy one at that. But you make the point that in order for this second Trump presidency to really succeed and shine, it needs to focus on these national ties that bind us. And there were some Republicans in favor of H-1B visas calling other conservatives names and calling them bigots and racist. And that's not at the root of their problem with H-1B visas. And the issues they bring up are very real because it's, as you describe it, H-1B visas are very often, and we can look at some of the biggest companies that use them. Amazon is the one with the biggest. They use it as reverse outsourcing. Rather than sending the jobs to India, they bring low-cost labor here.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's an excellent point. I mean, I think that, look, Donald Trump was elected with a significant majority vote, including a popular vote, because he's trying to appeal and remind us that we're all citizens of a nation. We're not just consumers. We're not just business people. I think there was this idea for several decades, 3 or 4 decades, that really these national ties weren't so important. And in the process, we lost all these good working class jobs. And we see a similar risk posed to people in more skilled industries, computer programmers and others whose jobs were, seeing their wages be pushed down. So I think that the promise here, for the opportunity here for Republicans, is to really bring the country together. The difference in 2024 as opposed to 2016 or 2020 is that the Republicans now have a cross-class alliance. So they have working class Americans disproportionately, but you're also seeing entrepreneurs like Elon Musk and David Sachs and these other high-tech executives who are bringing some of like a cross-class alliance here. And I think that's really important. I think everybody, as you mentioned, they've sort of resolved it. I think Elon Musk and others had agreed that there needed to be a serious reform of the H-1B program. I think that's all to the better. You need to hold the country, President Trump, it's up to him to hold the country together and hold this Make America Great Again coalition together.
Right. Yep. Let me ask you about this while we have you. Biden just handed out the nation's second highest civilian honor to Liz Cheney and Congressman Benny Thompson for their roles in the sham January 6th committee. Take a look.
I've been honored to present law enforcement officers who defended our Capitol on January 6th and the state and local election officials, elected leaders who defended the free and fair election of 2020. Today, we celebrate a new group of Americans. You are elected officials who served in difficult times with honor, decency, and ensure our democracy delivers.
What do you make of that, Michael?
Well, I think what's important here is that we still don't know what happened on January 6th. I mean, we saw Nancy Pelosi apologize, expressed regret, I should say, to her daughter about not having had the security they needed. We have the Capitol Police Chief who said that he requested backup troops, National Guard troops, and was refused by Nancy Pelosi. And Mitch McConnell, I should say. So look, I mean, we saw a huge security failure. Inadequate security. It's tempting for some people to suggest that, oh, there's just sort of an accident, but we need to get to the bottom of what really happened on January 6th. What was up with this fake pipe bomb outside of the DNC headquarters? You know, what's up with the refusal to have proper security and what appears to be significant numbers of confidential human sources inside that crowd? There's so much information that we need to get out there. I think the Trump administration, the expectations are very high that they're going to release the information from the Secret Service, supposedly had deleted text messages. I mean, it's crazy. Nobody in the intelligence community thinks that that's possible. They lost all these text messages. So clearly there's big mysteries, big unanswered questions that we're all waiting for a new Trump administration to get into office and provide some answers to.
Right. A riot and not an insurrection. Yeah. And Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, two Democrats. I'll just leave it at that. Michael Shellenberger, great to see you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.